hated institution is now using the same social sites which helped in the uprising to get its own message across. It's not clear how members of this once powerful security force will now react. The Prime Minister says this is a dangerous period for the country. His challenge now to take Tunisia to the next election and deliver the democracy people here fought and died for. Nazanin Bashiri, Al Jazeera, Tunis.
Still to come on Al Jazeera, oil prices reached two-year highs fueled by tensions in the Middle East and the fear factor. Plus, Jordan's Minister for Media joins journalists protesting against his own government. That story coming up.
Hello, we've got more very wet weather making its way into southern parts of Australia, just squeezing that moisture out of the tropics, and it's sinking its way further south. Some parts here could see around 150 millimetres of rainfall over the next 24 to 48 hours. So that will bring with it the risk of flooding, and that flooding rain could well also ease its way into that western side of Victoria. There we go with the heavy rain through central parts. To the east of that, it's fine and dry, 27 Celsius for Sydney and for Brisbane, 32 degrees there for Perth. Again, it stays fine and dry. Now we move on into the middle part of the week, and that wet weather, as you can see, diving its way down into Victoria by this stage. The high pressure, which has been keeping it dry here, is easing a little further eastwards across New Zealand. So the weather for New Zealand, at least, should start to cheer up. It's still quite breezy as we go on through much of Tuesday. A keen southwesterly wind coming in. So temperatures at around 16 Celsius, pushing up towards 19 degrees. But there you go. Winds falling lighter. A lovely day to come as we go on through Wednesday. Further north, there's quite a rash of showers through Vanuatu, through Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, seeing the heaviest of the showers through Southeast Asia. Crop of showers there a little further northwards into Malaysia, but for many it will be fine and dry, but turning wetter for Thailand.
What Gaddafi has done, he dismantled or destroyed the system in the country.
As chaos and violence sweep across Libya,
they're living through fear, they're living through a nightmare.
They're using ammunition, live ammunition.
Al Jazeera hears from those who have lived in fear of Gaddafi's regime.
We don't want him to leave. We want to arrest him. 42 years is too much.
Libya, a state of terror. At this time on Al Jazeera.
Welcome back, updating the situation in Libya. Anti-Gaddafi forces are calling for international help with their fight against the government. In the west, close to the capital Tripoli, they've lost control of Zawiya, and they've lost the advantage in other key cities. US President Barack Obama says Washington and its allies are still considering a military response to the crisis in Libya. Gulf Arab leaders have called for a UN-enforced no-fly zone. And Al Jazeera has learnt the British citizens released by Libyan rebels on Sunday were captured after an exchange of gunfire. 8 British nationals, including a diplomat and members of the special forces, were captured soon after they landed in eastern Libya. Tensions in Libya and the Middle East sent oil prices shooting up. US crude prices soared to a new 2.5-year high on Monday. There are concerns a continued rise could derail an already fragile global economic recovery. Here's Rosalind Jordan.
On the world oil markets, prices have been moving in just one direction, up. In New York, above $105 a barrel. In Europe, reaching $115, a nearly 20% rise since the beginning of the year. Libya is not the biggest oil producer by any means, but it's significant, and lower output from there does raise prices. But that's not the only thing at play. Oil is one of the most actively traded commodities in the world, Whole companies exist to profit on price changes.
There's a tremendous amount of intraday profit taking in this market. I mean, you're getting $2, $3 a pop on crude oil. And so it's not all them, it's a lot of speculators in here just, driving the price up.
But while traders profit, consumers in the U.S. and elsewhere pay more for fuel. That means less money for clothing and food. And with their fuel bills on the rise, companies are charging more for those goods. Then there's the impact on the economic recovery.
Cutting back now in the United States, both on consumer demand and on investment demand, in the sense that these are factories and companies we're talking about, company demand, will slow down the recovery.
Thus, the reasons for the growing pressure on President Barack Obama to sell some of the nearly 800 million barrels held in government reserve, to assure people the political upheaval across the Middle East won't affect them.
The issue here is disruption. Is there a major disruption in the flow of oil? That's obviously a factor.
Other reasons why oil is expensive: increasing demand from China and India. But perhaps the single biggest factor affecting prices is fear. Fear that the prices will keep going up, and fear the regional instability will spread east to the Gulf. Rosalind Jordan, AlJazeera, Washington.
The United States has promised more than $12 million in Cote d'Ivoire. Opposition fighters have reportedly seized the town of Touleplu, previously held by troops backing Laurent Gbagbo. Fighting between supporters of Gbagbo and those of his rival Alassane Ouattara is now the worst since the 2002 civil war. Mohamed Ado has more from the main city, Abidjan.
Ruling the streets of Abidjan, young men take matters into their own hands. Hundreds of them pouring into the streets, setting up roadblocks and searching drivers. They say they are here to help the police and army ensure that Laurent Gbagbo remains the president of their country. Their loyalty to the man is unshakable.
We shall die to protect Gbagbo, and we are doing this to defend the constitution of Cote d'Ivoire. Ouattara is going against the very constitution he voted for.
They take nothing to chance. Nothing misses their attention, and they don't mind who they upset.
I don't appreciate their attitude. I urge them to be polite as they go about what they're doing.
These young men say that their work on the streets has largely been successful and that they managed to nab a number of firearms destined for the rebels in the north. They are also understand instructions to ensure that the movement of UN personnel here in the capital is curtailed.
The UN forces have shown they are not impartial. They are biased. They are responsible for what is happening in Cote d'Ivoire. They have been arming and transporting rebels.
Conditions continue to worsen for civilians as the violence spirals. At least 200,000 people have been displaced, particularly from Abidjan, according to the United Nations. More than 360 people have also died since November. It's a toll that's bound to rise even higher if the current political crisis continues. Mohamed Ado, AlJazeera, Abidjan.
Egypt's caretaker prime minister says restoring security in the shortest possible time